All right, folks, we will open up a line of questions for Coach Ash.
How's everybody doing?
Far left.
I'm doing great.
Chris, with some of the different looks that you give offenses on third down, with Darren Lee at that rush end spot, just your package there. How has the defense progressed in being able? I know when you got here, you talked about maybe giving some different looks on third down. Have you been pleased with what you guys are being able to do on that down with your personnel and your looks?
Yeah, so far we're progressing nicely. We're getting more and more different looks and different types of rushes that we can show on offense. And I think we've been pretty productive with that here in the last couple of games. Really, overall, third down, I think we've been decent outside of the Virginia Tech game. I think we've gotten progressively better each week, and I like the direction that we're headed.
And I know you're just worried about the next game, but a little broader picture. When you got here, I know you talked about your goals as a coach down the line. Just for any assistant coach here, what do you sort of absorb from Urban Meyer on a daily or weekly basis, just on how you run a program, how you run a team, how you go about your business as a head coach?
Well, the thing that I've taken from Coach Meyer is he has a very clear vision of what he wants the program to look like, what he wants the assistant coaches to do, with the way they handle their business, the way they coach, the way they build relationships with the players, what he wants to see X's and O's wise on offense, defense, special teams, the way he invests into the players with our Real Life Wednesday programs, all of our leadership developing, the hydration and nutrition part of it that we do here in the program. The thing that I've taken from him being in this program is all those things. It's a clear vision of what he wants, and the investment that he makes in the players is outstanding.
Front row here, right, Tim?
Yeah, Chris, you won against Rutgers last year, didn't you?
I did, yes.
What'd you take away from that game? You guys had a big lead, and then they came back on you and stuff. Just what's your recollection of that? But also, what are you telling your guys to be ready for? Obviously, they've got Ralph Friedgen now and stuff. But go ahead.
Well, to start, the offenses are very similar. Kyle Flood, head coach, has been the offensive coordinator there in the past, and he obviously has a philosophy that he wants to see on offense because it's held true throughout the last few years, even with different offensive coordinators. The quarterback, Nova, is a good player. You can see the development and growth that he's made from last year to this year under Coach Friedgen being there. The receivers are good, but they have a system and a philosophy that they believe in. I think they're executing it well.
How would you describe their system? If you had to...
It's more of a pro-style system. A lot of 21, what we call 21 personnel, 2 backs and a tight end. They'll give you some 22 personnel, 2 backs and 2 tight ends. It's a little unconventional, from what we've seen so far this year, but they do a nice job of mixing up their run game and play action passes off of it.
And do you feel, you and Luke, do y'all feel better equipped now to call things, to do things that you maybe didn't feel 5 games ago, or just what's the sense, I guess, of confidence, whatever you want to call it, on the defensive side?
Well, I think the development has been great here the last few weeks. Coming out of that Navy game, the opening game of the year, we invested so much time and energy into that game, and we had to be able to win it against an offense like that. It did set us back a little bit for the games 2 and 3 of the season, but I think we're starting to catch up, and we're starting to get where we feel like we should be or wanted to be a few weeks ago. But the development, the growth, the mental understanding of what we're doing, the execution of what we're doing is a lot better here the last few weeks.
Hey, folks, for Coach Ash's benefit, could you say your full name and your affiliation, just so he can get an idea of who everybody is? First row, Bill.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch. You said it's kind of an unconventional offense. It's really unconventional because you're not used to seeing it. So very conventional.
Yes.
How are you guys looking forward to playing that type of offense, because you've been throwing the kitchen sink at you? Yeah.
Well, it's like anything in college football in this day and age. You got to have a package that's flexible from week to week. You've got to be able to defend a no-huddle spread. Teams that throw it around all the time, the teams that pack it in and run. Just in this league alone, you look at the different offensive philosophies in the Big Ten, from what we do here at Ohio State to a team like Iowa or Wisconsin, Michigan State, those pro-style teams that line up with 2 backs in the backfield. So you got to have a package that's pretty flexible. I think right now we feel good about where we're at. That our package is flexible enough that each week, without a lot of changes, we can defend different styles of offenses.
And Eli Apple's a guy playing with the Rutgers. I mean, he's a New Jersey guy. Can you describe his development?
I think Eli's done a nice job in the first half of the season. He's gotten his hands on some balls. He's got a couple interceptions. He's tackled well. He's been in the right position most of the time. Cincinnati was a play that he gave up, and we didn't play it right. Should have had some help there also. But overall, I think his growth and development and maturity as a corner has been good, and he's only got unlimited potential to see where he can go throughout the rest of the season.
Third row middle, Tony?
Tony Gerdeman, the Ozone. I was regarding Gary Nova. He's thrown a lot of yards, thrown a lot of touchdowns, he's thrown a lot of interceptions. How much of the bad that he had, the poor plays that he's made, do you guys focus on?
Well, they're there. I mean, you can't deny it. When you watch a quarterback in general, not just speaking of Gary Nova in general, you try to identify the things that rattle him, whether it be certain line games, certain pressure, certain coverages, things that can get into his head. See if there's a pattern of the mistakes that a quarterback makes that you're noticing on film. And if you do, then you want to try to implement those things. So there's a lot of things that he does well. He's done a nice job in the pocket. He's thrown the ball deep very well this year. He's avoided pressure very well this year. He's scrambled well this year. But there are some things on film that you think, hey, maybe this or that would maybe rattle him a little bit. And those are the things that we try to identify every week.
Do you have to play him differently than you have previous quarterbacks this season, do you think?
Not necessarily. I mean, their style of offense, with it being more of a pro-style attack, is a little bit different maybe than what we would see in the previous weeks. And you got to adjust to that more so than what you do Gary Nova as an individual.
And last set of questions. Dave, front row.
Dave Biddle, Bucknuts. Coach Meyer touched on this a little bit last week. You guys are playing a lot more press coverage this year, but you're not jamming the receivers at the line of scrimmage. He said he doesn't want his guys to lunge at the receivers because that's a good way to get beat deep. Can you talk more about the rationale? They're playing press coverage, but not jamming the wide receivers.
Well, when you watch corners or teams that implement a lot of press technique, there's not a lot of actual hand-to-hand combat. You don't play press technique with your hands, you play it with your feet. You're basically playing basketball with the wide receiver. You want to be able to move your feet and cut that receiver off and make him fight for his release. When defensive backs get overly aggressive with their hands at the line of scrimmage and don't move their feet, they reach, they lunge, get overextended, that's when you're going to get beat. And with what we're doing, we're not necessarily closing the middle of the field with a middle safety. The last thing that we can have in our cover structure is a corner that doesn't have vertical control on a wide receiver, and that's when you lose the vertical control. How you lose vertical control is a corner that reaches and lunges and tries to play with his hands more so than his feet. So the misnomer of press technique from a typical fan's point of view is, well, you got to get your hands on them. Well, no, you don't. You do if they're within striking distance of you, but you don't want to overextend your body and basically lunge to be able to get your hands on a wide receiver. You want to be able to move your feet, keep the wide receiver within the framework of your body, and if you're able to do that and contact is able to be made with both hands, great. But if you're not, then you've got to move your feet and you've got to be able to open your hips and run. I don't know if that helps answer the question.
Absolutely, thank you.
Coach, thank you very much.
Not a problem. Thank you, guys.
Hey, thanks.